The gunshot exploded through the Guthrie Theater auditorium, like thunder splitting a clear blue sky. The crowd screamed. People shoved and stumbled, chairs toppled, and stage lights flickered wildly. In the chaos, Derek Hanley did not move for several seconds. His battle-hardened eyes, trained by years as a former Special Forces operative, swept across every face, every exit. 32 seconds. That was the window he calculated, from the first gunshot to the moment the attacker would fire again. Not far away, Marissa Caldwell, the powerful CEO of Polar Shield Technologies, had gone pale, frozen in terror. And beside her, little Lila, just 7 years old, looked up with wide eyes, her voice trembling. "Uncle Derek!" There was no time left to think. In a single motion, Derek lunged forward. The same hands that once held a sniper rifle now wrapped protectively around a small, trembling child. The second shot rang out. A burning pain tore through his right shoulder. Blood soaked through his shirt. But Lila was safe. Marissa screamed his name, her voice a mix of fear and despair. And in that moment, Derek understood one thing. The past he had tried so hard to bury had just found its way back. And this time, it wouldn't let him go easily. But to understand how it all began, we need to go back, 6 weeks earlier, to a man who seemed ordinary, a single father just trying to live the quietest life possible. Derek Hanley, the man no one could have imagined would, in just a few weeks, change the fate of an entire family. Before the story truly begins, don't forget to hit subscribe, because sometimes the truth hiding behind the most ordinary lives is what surprises us the most. So then, what could possibly drive a single father into a storm of destiny like this? Derek Hanley woke up at 5 a.m., just like every other day. The small apartment on the outskirts of Minneapolis was still wrapped in darkness. He didn't turn on the lights. His eyes had long grown used to moving through the dark, ever since those long years in Afghanistan. On the refrigerator door, Noah's crayon drawings were scattered everywhere, pinned with dinosaur-shaped magnets. His 9-year-old son drew a lot, as if each drawing helped him carry a piece of the sadness left behind after his mother's death 3 years ago. Derek gently touched the newest picture. A tall man holding hands with a small boy, with crooked handwriting above that read, "Dad and me." He swallowed hard, fighting the lump rising in his throat. 6 o'clock. Derek woke Noah up. The boy rubbed his eyes, hair sticking up in every direction. "Dad, I've got a math test today." "I'm scared." "You'll do fine," Derek said softly but firmly. "You studied hard last night." "But what if I mess up?" Derek crouched down to meet his son's eyes. "Then I'll still be proud of you. Making mistakes doesn't mean you didn't try." Noah smiled faintly, though the worry in his eyes didn't fade. This 9-year-old had grown up far too quickly, losing his mom, moving to a new place, learning to adapt to a life that felt constantly shifting. And Derek knew, every time he left the house, Noah feared that maybe his dad wouldn't come back, just like his mom never did. 7 a.m. Derek drove his son to school. At the gate, Noah hugged his backpack tightly. "Dad, please pick me up on time today. Don't be late like before." "I promise," Derek said, brushing the boy's hair gently. "I'll be waiting right where I always do." Noah nodded, then ran through the gate. As Derek watched him disappear into the crowd of children, something tightened in his chest. Noah didn't say it, but Derek knew. The boy feared one day he'd stand there waiting, and his father would never show up. 8 a.m. Derek clocked in at the Target warehouse in Brooklyn Center. He worked as a stock clerk. Simple tasks: stacking boxes, checking inventory, sealing shipments. $18 an hour. Not much, but enough to pay the rent and raise his boy. "Hanley, move faster!" Carl, the morning shift supervisor, barked from across the room. "Those crates need to be done before 10." Derek just nodded. He was used to that tone, the kind that treated him like background noise. To them, he was just another quiet worker. Slow, unremarkable, invisible. But as his hands moved automatically, his eyes were always scanning, noticing the emergency exits, camera angles, the airflow from the side doors, and the shortest path to escape if something went wrong. An old habit, the kind a soldier never really loses. Lunch break. Derek sat alone in the break room. He opened his homemade lunch, a ham sandwich and an apple, while the others laughed about last night's game. No one talked to Derek. He was too quiet, too reserved, too different. His phone buzzed, a message from his sister Lisa in Milwaukee. "How's Noah?" "I'll come visit next week." Bringing cookies for my nephew Derek smiled faintly, typing back, "He's good. Thanks, sis." Lisa was the only family member who still kept in touch. The only one who knew who he used to be, what he had done, and why he'd chosen this quiet life. She didn't ask questions. She just stayed. Whenever he needed her. 3 p.m. Derek picked up Noah right on time. The boy ran out of the classroom, face glowing. "Dad! I did great on my test. The teacher said I was awesome." "That's my boy," Derek laughed, raising his hand. They did their special high five, a father and son ritual. "I told you I believed in you." On the way home, Noah chattered endlessly about his test, his seatmate, the new dinosaur he wanted to draw next. Derek just listened, memorizing every word, every smile. Because this was what he lived for. Not glory, not his decorated past, just the sound of his son's laughter. Nightfall. After Noah was asleep, Derek sat on the tiny balcony, staring at the Minneapolis skyline. He pulled out a cigarette but didn't light it, just held it between his fingers, breathing in the dry tobacco scent, the same way he used to on rooftops in Kabul. On his wrist, Sarah's old watch still ticked quietly. She'd been gone for 3 years, but Derek had never taken it off. That watch was a reminder that once he'd had a complete family, and also a reason why he never wanted to return to the world he came from. He sat there in silence, the faint hum of distant traffic drifting through the cold night air. A deep sigh escaped him, heavy, like the weight of a buried past. He had chosen this life of anonymity, where no one knew his name, no one asked questions. In return, Noah got to grow up safe, away from the darkness that haunted his father, a man who had once killed to protect his country. Derek Hanley had died on the battlefield. The man who lived now was only his shadow, trying to live as an ordinary man. But fate, as always, never truly lets go of those trying to forget. That Saturday, Derek took Noah to the Mall of America. The boy had been begging for a month. The toy store had just stocked a new line of dinosaur models, the kind Noah had dreamed of for ages, but Derek could never afford to buy. "Dad, this time I'll just look," Noah said, trying to sound mature. "I know you don't have money right now. I just want to see it up close. Just once." Derek looked at his son, and his heart sank. This 9-year-old was learning to be understanding, learning to live with scarcity. And that broke Derek more than poverty ever could. He placed a hand on the boy's shoulder and said softly, "It's okay. I've saved up a little. Today's a special day." Noah's eyes lit up, then dimmed again with worry. "Really, Dad? Will we still have enough for food? Derek knelt down to meet his son's gaze. I'll figure it out. Don't you worry, buddy. But he was worried. Last week, the car broke down. Repairs cost over $300, and the next month's rent was already looking impossible. He had gone over the math a dozen times. It didn't add up. Still, when he saw Noah's smile, Derek made his decision. Just this once. Just once, he wanted his son to be happy. They stopped by the food court. Noah chose strawberry ice cream, his favorite flavor. Derek bought himself the cheapest coffee he could find and sat watching his son eat. The boy savored every bite, trying to make the moment last as long as he could, as if afraid happiness might melt away like the ice cream. Derek knew, in their world, ice cream was a luxury. "Aren't you eating, Dad?" Noah asked, his voice small. "I'm full, buddy." "You enjoy it." In truth, Derek hadn't eaten all day. But looking at that smile, he felt full enough. And then everything changed in an instant. A gunshot. Just one. But it tore through the noise of the crowded mall like lightning in a clear sky, leaving behind a hollow, terrifying silence. The soldier in Derek awoke instantly. He threw Noah to the floor and shielded him with his own body. His heart pounded, but his mind was already in combat mode, scanning everything, the direction of the shot, exits, crowd flow, possible cover points. "Dad! Dad!" Noah whimpered in his arms. "Shh. I'm here. You're safe." And then Derek saw her. A little girl, Lila Caldwell, 7 years old, wearing a yellow floral dress, holding a melting strawberry ice cream cone. She stood frozen in the middle of the hallway, eyes wide, not understanding the chaos around her. Behind her, a man in a black hoodie was approaching, his hand hidden inside his pocket. Derek knew that movement. He had a gun, and he was aiming for the girl. In that split second, Derek had to choose: stay and protect his own son, who was relatively safe under the table, or rush out to save a stranger's child. He looked down at Noah. The boy trembled, face pale, tears brimming in his eyes. Under the table, Noah had a chance. The little girl did not. "Noah," Derek whispered quickly, voice firm. "Stay here. Don't move, okay? I'll be right back." "Where are you going?" Noah grabbed his hand, voice shaking. "To help someone. Trust me, son. I'll come back." He didn't wait for a reply. Derek ran. What happened next took only seconds. But to Derek, time slowed to a crawl. He didn't run like an ordinary man. He moved like someone who had survived a dozen battlefields. The distance closed fast. The man in the hoodie turned, startled. His hand came out, gripping a handgun. Derek didn't hesitate. He charged, shoulder first, slamming into him and shoving the little girl out of the line of fire. Lila fell to the floor, the pink ice cream splattering across the white tiles like a streak of blood. The second gunshot erupted. A burning pain tore through Derek's right shoulder. He didn't cry out. He just grabbed the girl, rolling behind a column, shielding her with his own body. Blood seeped through his shirt. His breathing came in ragged bursts. "You're okay, sweetheart," he gasped. "You're safe now. I've got you." The gunman panicked and fled. Alarms blared. Guards shouted. The crowd screamed and scattered. But Derek didn't care. All he saw were the tears in the little girl's eyes and the certainty that she was alive. Then a woman came running. Marissa Caldwell. Her hair fell loose, her face ghost white, eyes shattered with fear. She dropped to her knees, pulling her daughter into her arms. "Lila! Oh my God, Lila!" She checked every inch of the girl, hands, face, knees, then looked up. Her eyes met Derek's. The man sat slumped against the column, blood soaking his shoulder, yet his gaze remained calm, almost gentle. Her throat tightened. She looked at the wound, the blood, the man who had thrown himself in front of her child. You saved my daughter." Derek nodded weakly, managing a faint smile through shallow breaths. "She's safe. That's all that matters." But in his mind, only one name echoed: Noah. Where was his son? Derek turned his head, searching desperately. And then he saw him. Noah stood a few meters away, eyes wide, lips trembling. He had seen the blood. He had seen his father fall. "Dad!" Derek reached out a hand. Noah ran to him and threw his arms around his father, sobbing. "You're hurt. Dad, you're hurt." "It's okay, buddy," Derek murmured, wrapping his left arm around the boy. "I'm fine. Just a scratch. I promise." But both of them knew it wasn't just a scratch. And from that moment on, their lives would never be the same again. An ambulance pulled up in front of Mall of America, red and blue lights flashing against the glass walls of the massive shopping center. Derek sat on the stretcher, his right shoulder carefully bandaged. The bullet had only grazed the muscle, missing the bone entirely. A miracle. "You should come to the hospital," the paramedic said firmly but kindly. "That wound needs proper stitching." Derek shook his head. "I don't have insurance." "This is fine." The medic frowned, wanting to argue, but didn't. He had seen too many men like Derek, men who worked hard all their lives, yet could never afford basic health care. A few meters away, Noah sat beside Lisa, Derek's sister, who had driven all the way from Milwaukee the moment she heard the news. The boy clutched a plush dinosaur, a small gift from one of the rescuers to comfort him. But his eyes never left his father. Every time Derek flinched, Noah stopped breathing. Lisa placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice soft. "Your dad's okay, sweetheart. He's strong, but Mom was okay too," Noah whispered, trembling. "And she never came back." Lisa froze. There were no words, only her arms tightening around the boy as he cried into her shoulder. Across the parking lot, Marissa Caldwell stood silently, holding Lila close. The girl was still shaking, but unharmed. Marissa had checked her daughter 10 times. 10 times to be sure not a single scratch was there. "Mom," Lila whispered, eyes red, staring at Derek. "He got hurt because of me." "It must hurt a lot, right?" Marissa swallowed hard, forcing her voice to stay calm. "Don't worry, sweetheart. Mommy will take care of him." She walked toward Derek. For the first time, she truly looked at him. The rough face, calloused hands, worn-out clothes. Nothing like the image of a hero she'd ever imagined. And yet, this man had thrown himself into the line of fire to save her child. "Thank you," Marissa said, her voice trembling. I don't even know what to say. You saved my daughter's life." Derek nodded slightly, his voice calm despite the pain. "She's safe. That's what matters." Marissa glanced toward Noah, the boy sitting quietly, eyes fixed on his father in terror. "You have a family, don't you?" she asked softly. "Your son?" "Yes. Noah. He's 9. She paused. In that boy's eyes, she saw a fear she recognized too well. The fear of losing the one person who meant everything. "I want to repay you," Marissa said sincerely. "Medical bills or anything you need." "That's not necessary," Derek interrupted gently but firmly. "I didn't do it for money." Marissa stopped short. In her world, a world where everything had a price, that answer left her speechless. No hesitation, no calculation, just quiet conviction. Before she could respond, the police arrived. They needed to take statements. 2 days later, everything changed. The video went viral. Security footage showed everything. Derek running, tackling the gunman, shielding the little girl while bleeding from his wound. It shook the entire country. News outlets called him the silent hero. Reporters camped outside his apartment. CNN interviewed Marissa, who said only one thing. He didn't hesitate. Not for a single second Derek saw his own face on the TV while cooking breakfast for Noah. He turned it off immediately, but it was too late. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters, sponsors, strangers wanting to send money. He didn't answer any of them. He just wanted things to go back to normal. But on Tuesday morning, the phone rang again. Carl, his supervisor at the warehouse, was on the line. "Derek, the company wants to see you." Carl's voice was cold, impersonal. Derek knew something was wrong. The Target corporate office was bright, sterile, and freezing. Two men in suits sat across from him, faces expressionless. "Mr. Hanley," the older one began dryly, "we appreciate your bravery. But the incident has drawn media attention, not the kind we wanted." "I don't understand," Derek said, frowning. "You've become a public figure. Reporters are swarming the warehouse. It's disrupting operations." "I didn't ask them to come." "We understand," the second man replied, sliding an envelope across the table. "But under the circumstances, we think it's best if you step away. This is 2 weeks' severance pay." Derek stared at the envelope, then looked up. They were firing him for saving a child. "You're saying I'm a PR risk?" Derek asked, his voice low. No one answered. They didn't need to. He stood, picked up the envelope. "I see." That evening, Derek sat beside Noah as the boy worked on his homework. Noah bit his pencil, struggling with a math problem. "Dad," he said suddenly, "Tommy at school said you're famous." "He saw you on TV," Derek sighed. "I don't want to be famous, kiddo." "Why not? You did something good. You saved someone." "Sometimes doing good causes trouble too." Noah set down his pencil and looked up seriously. "Do you regret it? Saving Lila?" Derek was silent for a long time. Then he placed his hand gently on his son's head. "No, not for a single second. If I had to do it again, I would—" Noah smiled faintly and went back to his homework. But Derek's thoughts were elsewhere. The rent due in 2 weeks. No job, no savings, no plan. Then his phone buzzed again. An unknown number. He almost ignored it, but hesitated. Maybe it was a job offer. "Mr. Hanley?" A calm, professional female voice. "This is Jennifer Reeves, assistant to Mrs. Marissa Caldwell. Mrs. Caldwell would like to meet with you tomorrow, 2 p.m., at the headquarters of Polar Shield Technologies." Derek froze, heartbeat slowing for a moment. "Mr. Hanley? Are you still there?" Jennifer asked. I'm not sure that's a good idea." "Mrs. Caldwell truly wants to meet you, sir." "Please, give her a chance." Derek looked around the small apartment. The unpaid bills, the stack of overdue notices, and Noah's hopeful eyes when he'd promised, "Everything will be okay." He took a deep breath. "All right," Derek said quietly. "I'll come." The Polar Shield Technologies headquarters towered above downtown Minneapolis, its mirrored glass gleaming under the sun like a modern fortress. Standing before it, Derek Hanley felt suddenly small. He wore his only dress shirt, old but clean, carefully ironed. Before leaving, Lisa had come over to watch Noah. She had squeezed Derek's hand and said softly, "Just be yourself. They already know what kind of man you are." But the moment he stepped into the grand lobby, Derek knew. This wasn't his world. Marble floors gleamed like water. Crystal chandeliers glittered above. The blonde receptionist in a black suit eyed him from head to toe, her polite smile barely hiding the unspoken question. Who is this man? Why is he here? I have an appointment with Mrs. Caldwell, Derek said, steadying his voice, though his heart raced. She glanced at her screen, then gave a curt nod. Mr. Hanley, correct? Elevator number 3, 25th floor. The elevator shot upward, too smooth, too fast. Through the glass wall, the lobby shrank beneath him until it looked like a miniature model. He thought of the old freight elevator at the warehouse, groaning, slow, heavy. Two different worlds entirely. The doors slid open on the 25th floor. A woman in her mid-30s with short brown hair and a tailored gray suit was waiting. Her smile was far warmer than the receptionist's. Mr. Hanley? I'm Jennifer Reeves. Thank you for coming. Nice to meet you. Her handshake was soft, a stark contrast to his rough, calloused palms. Jennifer led him down a long hallway. On both sides, glass-walled offices hummed with people typing, calling, talking, too busy even to glance up. The air smelled of ambition and caffeine. A world spinning too fast for anyone like him. Mrs. Caldwell's expecting you, Jennifer said, as they stopped before a tall double door. Don't worry. She really does want to meet you. But Derek was worried. Not about Marissa herself, but about stepping back into a life he'd walked away from long ago. Marissa Caldwell stood by the window, gazing out at the skyline. Afternoon light framed her in a halo of gold. When she turned, she smiled. Warm, genuine. Mr. Hanley, thank you for coming. Please, have a seat. The leather chair was softer than he expected. Marissa sat across from him, not behind her desk, but level with him. It was a subtle gesture, one that said, "You can relax here." First of all, Marissa began softly, I want to thank you properly. You saved my daughter's life. There are no words for what that means to me. How's Lila? Derek asked. She's fine. Shaken, but fine. She still talks about you every day. Uncle Derek, she calls you. Marissa smiled faintly. She even wants to invite you to dinner to thank you in person. That's not necessary. You always say, not necessary. Marissa interrupted, not sharply, but with quiet firmness. But this time, I want to do something for you. I heard you lost your job. Derek froze. She'd looked into him? Marissa read the thought in his eyes. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pry. After what happened, I needed to know who you were. And what I found is, you're extraordinary. I'm just a warehouse worker. No, Marissa shook her head. You're not just that. The way you moved, reacted, that's not something ordinary people do. You served, didn't you? Military? Derek stayed silent. This was why he hadn't wanted to come. I'm not here to dig up your past, she said gently, but I need someone like you. Polar Shield is expanding rapidly, and with growth comes risk. I need someone who can see danger before it happens. You already have a security team. I do, she admitted, but they didn't see the man with the gun in that mall. You did. Derek tilted his head slightly. What exactly do you want from me? I want you as a security consultant to help us strengthen our systems, identify vulnerabilities. The pay is excellent. Full insurance for you and your son. Flexible hours, her son. She knew about Noah. I'm not exactly a corporate type, Derek said quietly. I'm not looking for a corporate type, Marissa replied, meeting his eyes. I'm looking for someone who can keep me and my daughter safe. The door burst open. A tall, broad man strode in, Connor Wade, head of security. His face was hard, his eyes cold, scanning Derek like a threat. Mrs. Caldwell, We need to talk. Privately. Connor, this isn't the time. There's been a breach on the server floor. Connor cut her off. Cameras caught an intruder. He's already passed 2 layers of security. Derek was on his feet instantly. Instinct kicked in. How long ago? Connor shot him a glare. About 3 minutes. But this doesn't... 3 minutes is too long, Derek said sharply, turning to Marissa. What's he after? Marissa's face went pale. Research data. If it's stolen, we lose millions. Derek didn't wait for permission. He was already moving. Hey, where do you think you're going? Connor barked. But Derek was gone before the echo faded. He sprinted down the corridor. Employees scattered, stunned. He didn't need directions. Instinct guided him. Server floors were always isolated, heavily secured. The elevator was too slow. The stairwell was faster. He ran, steady breath, even pace, heart controlled. How long had it been since he'd moved like this? 3 years? His body still remembered. Always would. 27th floor. Electronic lock. No time. One precise kick to the hinge. The door flew open. Inside, a man in a black coat and mask was plugging a USB into the mainframe. He spun around, startled. Don't move, Derek said, his voice low and cold. The man didn't listen. Steel flashed. A knife. Derek lunged. Sidestep, grab, twist. The blade clattered to the floor as the man screamed. A sharp crack echoed, wrist dislocated. Derek pinned him face down, knee on his back, holding him firm. Who sent you? The man stayed silent, biting his lip. Derek pressed harder. Who? The door burst open behind him. Security poured in, Connor leading, wide-eyed. They froze. Derek had the intruder completely subdued. No blood, no chaos, just precision. Connor stared, speechless. Marissa rushed in seconds later, her gaze darting from Derek to the intruder. You caught him? She gasped. Derek rose slightly, still locking the man's arm. USB. Check what he got. Jennifer appeared beside the servers, typing furiously. He didn't get far. Connection lasted only 2 seconds. Marissa exhaled in relief. Then she turned to Derek, really seeing him for the first time. Not the quiet warehouse worker, but a soldier, a protector, a man who'd lived through things she could barely imagine. Connor stepped closer, uncertain. Who are you? Derek didn't answer. He simply looked at Marissa. You have your answer now. Do you still want me working here? Marissa met his gaze without hesitation. Yes, more than ever. That night, Derek couldn't sleep. He sat on the old sofa, shoulders wrapped in a worn military jacket. Streetlights spilled through the window frame, casting his long shadow across the floor. On the coffee table lay a plain white envelope. Inside were an employment contract and a $5,000 advance check. $5,000. The equivalent of 3 months' warehouse pay. Derek held the check, gaze distant. With that money, he could cover rent, buy winter clothes for Noah, even fix the old car that rattled every morning. But what would it cost? Going back to the old world, the one he'd spent 3 years running from. He opened a drawer and took out a wooden box, the only thing left from his military life. Inside were a neatly folded American flag, a Force Recon badge, and an old photograph. Sarah, his wife, the woman with the warm smile and soft brown hair. In the photo, she was holding baby Noah. Both were radiant, happy. Derek touched Sarah's face in the picture. His heart tightened. Memories from 3 years ago surged back. Sarah lay in a hospital bed, frighteningly thin. Stage 4 lung cancer. The doctor said she had only a few weeks. Derek sat beside her, holding her hand. Small, cold, and so fragile he feared it might break if he let go. Noah slept in a chair in the corner, exhausted after too many sleepless nights. "Promise me," Sarah whispered, her voice as raspy as wind against the window. "Promise you'll live a normal life. Don't go back to that world." "What are you talking about? I've already left the service," Derek choked out. "You know what I mean." Sarah squeezed his hand, weak but resolute. "I see you flinch at every loud sound. That world has already taken too much from you. Don't let it take Noah, too." "Sarah, promise me," she cried, tears slipping down her gaunt cheeks. "Promise you'll be an ordinary dad. Take him to school, cook dinner, read him to sleep. Don't let him grow up in the shadows, the way you did." Derek gripped her hand, tears spilling over. "I promise. I promise you." Sarah smiled, her eyes lighter. 3 days later, she was gone. And Derek kept his promise. He walked away from reputation, career, skills, just to become an ordinary father. Derek set the photo down and wiped his tears. He had promised. But now that promise collided with reality. No money, no job, no way to provide for his son. "Dad?" Derek startled. Noah stood in the doorway, clutching his stuffed dinosaur, eyes red. "Buddy, why aren't you asleep?" "I dreamed about Mom." Derek opened his arms and drew him close. "What did she say?" "She said, I have to be strong. Because you need me, Dad." Noah looked up, voice shaking. "Are you going to leave me to do a dangerous job?" Derek froze. "Who told you that?" "I heard you talking to Aunt Lisa. She said your new job might be dangerous. You'll go far away, won't you? Like when you were in the army?" Derek knelt and placed both hands on his son's shoulders. "No, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be right here, in Minneapolis, taking you to and from school every day." "But what if someone shoots you like at the mall?" Noah burst into tears. "I don't want to lose you." "You're all I have." His son's tears burned against Derek's hands like fire. This 9-year-old was carrying a weight too big, the fear of losing the last person he loved. Derek held him tight and whispered, "Listen to me. I promise you, I will come home every night, on time, not late. I will never make you wait. Do you really promise?" "I promise, on my life." Noah clung to him, sobbing. Derek closed his eyes, letting his own tears mingle with his son's. He knew it was time to choose. But any choice would cut his heart. The next morning, Derek called Marissa. "Mr. Hanley," her voice warm but taut, "have you decided?" "I'll take the job," Derek said, "but with conditions." "I'm listening." "Day shift only. No nights. No long-distance travel. I must be home with my son at 6 p.m. every day. No exceptions." Marissa was silent for a few seconds, then said, "Agreed. Anything else?" "If anything happens to Noah, I walk. No notice. I understand. I'm a mother too, Mr. Hanley. Family comes first." "Thank you." "No, thank you." Welcome to Polar Shield Technologies. The first week passed in a blur. Derek was given a small office, not luxurious, but with a window over the city. He met the security team. Evan Brooks, close-cropped hair, solid build, friendly. Sean Patel, a young Indian-American tech specialist with a gentle smile. But Connor Wade, the former lead, was not pleased. His eyes were icy as he said, "You don't have a degree, no security certifications, no civilian experience. Why would Mrs. Caldwell hire you?" "I'm here to help, not replace anyone." Connor smirked. "Nice line, but this team did just fine for 10 years without you." Evan cut in. "Connor, he caught the intruder the rest of us missed." Maybe learn something instead of fighting him. Connor didn't answer, but his stare said it all. "This is my turf. Don't step too far." Friday afternoon. Derek picked up Noah at exactly 6, just as he'd promised. The boy sprinted over, backpack bouncing. "Dad!" "I got a perfect score in language arts." "Amazing!" Derek laughed, clapping. "I'm so proud of you." On the drive home, Noah asked, "How's the new job?" "Good. A little tiring, but fine." "Did you get shot again?" Derek chuckled. "No, I sit in an office, watch cameras, talk to people. It's not dangerous." Noah studied his father, wanting to believe, but silently doubtful. He'd grown up faster than his years. He knew adults sometimes lied just to keep kids calm. Derek smiled, trying to make life look as ordinary as possible. That night, after Noah fell asleep, Derek's phone buzzed. A message from Jennifer. "Mr. Hanley, we identified last week's intruder. He works for Grant Ellis, Mrs. Caldwell's former partner. We suspect he's preparing something bigger. Emergency meeting Monday, 8 a.m. Derek stared at the screen, a chill running down his spine. Grant Ellis. Not an unfamiliar name. He'd read the file. A businessman betrayed, stripped of his stake now, hungry for revenge. People like that, Derek knew best. Dangerous, because they had nothing left to lose. He looked toward Noah's bedroom door. The boy slept soundly, clutching his dinosaur, as peaceful as another world. Derek sat in silence. The promise to Sarah, thinning like smoke. The old world calling him back. But this time, he had no choice. To protect Noah, he had to keep this job, even if it meant breaking his promise. Monday, 8 a.m. The conference room on the 25th floor was utterly silent. Derek sat among the security team, facing a large screen that displayed a photo of Grant Ellis, a man in his early 40s, gray streaks at his temples, sharp features. He was smiling in the picture, but his eyes were ice. Jennifer began her briefing. Grant Ellis, former business partner of Mrs. Caldwell. 5 years ago, they co-founded a data encryption startup. When a buyout offer came in, Mrs. Caldwell wanted to keep building, but Ellis wanted to cash out. The dispute ended in court, and I won, Marissa said, her tone devoid of triumph. The court ruled Grant had no legal claim to the core algorithm. He took a settlement, and left. Evan Brooks frowned. But he never let it go, did he? No, Marissa shook her head. He started Ellis Dynamics, always one step behind us. Now, it looks like he's trying to steal our technology to get ahead. Connor Wade crossed his arms. The intruder was just a pawn. Ellis wouldn't get his own hands dirty. Derek spoke up for the first time. You're right. But he needs someone on the inside. Someone within Polar Shield. With access. The room fell still. Connor smirked. You suggesting that person is sitting in this room? I'm talking about possibilities, Derek said evenly. The intruder knew exactly which floor the server was on, which shift was active, and how to disable the alarm. That's not random. Marissa's eyes moved from Derek to the team. Jennifer, review everyone with access to the server floor in the last 3 months. Check for financial trouble. Anyone under pressure. Connor stood abruptly. You're accusing your own people now? We've worked here for years. I'm not accusing anyone, Marissa replied coolly. I'm being thorough. Grant isn't playing games. He's planning something much bigger than a simple breach. After the meeting, Derek stayed behind with Marissa and Jennifer. Lines of employee data scrolled across the screen. Anyone suspicious? Marissa asked. Jennifer hesitated. Most are clean. But Connor Wade stands out. He's in debt. His wife just filed for divorce, demanding half of everything. He's desperate for cash. Derek stared at Connor's name glowing on the monitor. It fit. The hostility, the defiance, the resentment. not just territory, fear of exposure. We need proof, Derek said quietly. A false accusation could get the company sued. Marissa nodded. Jennifer, monitor him discreetly. Emails, calls, bank activity, but stay within legal limits. Understood. Derek rose to leave, but Marissa called after him, for the first time, using his first name. Derek, thank you. You see things others overlook. Just doing my job. No, Marissa stepped closer. You're protecting us. And I know that isn't easy for you. He met her gaze, deep brown eyes carrying the exhaustion of a single mother and CEO, bearing the weight of thousands. In that look, Derek saw something familiar, the fierce instinct to protect what mattered most. How's Lila? He asked. Marissa smiled faintly. She's fine. Still asks about you. She wants to meet Noah. Noah's curious about her, too. The girl Dad saved, he calls her. Marissa hesitated. This weekend, would you and Noah join us for dinner? Nothing formal. Lila would love to thank you properly. Derek almost declined. The line between work and personal life was one he avoided crossing. But then he thought of Noah, a lonely boy with few friends. Maybe a friendship would be good for him. All right, we'll come. Wednesday afternoon. While Derek was checking the camera system, Evan Brooks entered, looking uneasy. Derek, something's up. I just saw Connor meeting someone at the cafe down the street. Someone? You catch what they talked about? No, I stayed back, but I saw Connor hand over an envelope, and the other guy gave him a USB drive. Derek stood immediately. Did you get a photo? Evan handed him his phone. The picture was grainy but clear enough. Connor sitting opposite a dark-haired man in sunglasses, a brown envelope between them. Who's that? No idea. He drove off in a black Mercedes. Fake plates. I checked Derek snapped a copy of the image. Good work, Evan. Don't tell anyone. Not even Connor. What are you going to do? Find out who that man is. And how he connects Connor to Grant Ellis. That night, after Noah was asleep, Derek sat at his computer. He opened the facial recognition software Jennifer had set up for him the week before. He uploaded the photo and waited. 3 minutes later, the result appeared. Marcus Vance, former CIA operative, currently employed by Ellis Dynamics. Derek exhaled slowly. The final piece had fallen into place. Grant had Marcus, the professional, running the operation, while Connor provided insider access. But what was the plan? Just data theft? Or something far worse? He glanced at the calendar on the wall. 2 weeks until the Polar Shield Summit at Guthrie Theater, the company's biggest event of the year. Hundreds of guests, live press coverage, a perfect opportunity. He called Marissa, even though it was nearly 10 p.m. She answered immediately. Derek? What's wrong? I need to see you. Now. It's about Grant Ellis. Her voice dropped. Come to my house. I'll send the address. Marissa lived in Edina, the wealthy enclave of Minneapolis. A 2-story villa with a gated yard and spotless security system. As Derek parked, he felt the unease. Her world was a universe away from his. Marissa opened the door. No business suit tonight, just a simple sweater, hair down. For the first time, she looked ordinary, human. Come in, she said. Lila's asleep. In the living room, Derek laid everything out. Connor, Marcus Vance, and the likely attack scenario during the summit. Marissa listened, color draining from her face. They want to destroy the event, she whispered. Ruin me publicly. Or worse, Derek replied. They might try to abduct you, or Lila. For ransom, or leverage to make you surrender your tech. Marissa trembled. Should I cancel the summit? No, That only delays them. We face them, but on our terms. She looked at him then, not as an employee, but as a protector. The quiet warehouse worker was gone. Standing before her was the soldier he used to be. What do you need from me? Your trust. All of it, Marissa nodded without hesitation. You have it, Derek. Polar Shield Summit. The Guthrie Theater glittered under the city lights, its sapphire blue glass rising above the Mississippi River like a jewel in the heart of Minneapolis. Hundreds of guests in evening wear walked the red carpet as camera flashes sparked like lightning. Derek stood in the corner of the grand lobby, earpiece tucked discreetly in place, eyes scanning every face. He wore a black suit, for the first time in years. It felt stiff, suffocating, but necessary for tonight's role. Derek, status check. Evan's voice came through the comm. Position 1, clear, Derek replied. Where's Marissa? Second floor green room. Lila's at home with the nanny. Safe. Derek exhaled quietly. He'd insisted Marissa keep Lila home. No child should be anywhere near a night like this. Noah was safe too, staying with Aunt Lisa in Milwaukee, far from danger. Position 2. Movement, Sean Patel reported. Unknown male, east entrance. Gray suit, dark hair, sunglasses. Derek turned, his pulse tightening. Marcus Vance. Don't engage, Derek ordered. Let him in. We need him caught red-handed. You sure about that? Evan asked, uneasy. Trust me. He'd planned this for 2 weeks, every detail mapped out. Connor Wade had been under quiet surveillance, every call, every transaction tracked. But Derek had waited. He needed Grant Ellis to reveal himself. And tonight was the night. 8 p.m. Marissa Caldwell stepped onto the stage. The spotlight crowned her in gold. She smiled with confidence, the smile of a CEO. But from the shadows, Derek saw the strain behind her eyes. Good evening, everyone, Marissa began, her voice steady. Tonight, Polar Shield Technologies is proud to unveil the next generation of encryption, the Aurora Protocol, a breakthrough in global data security. Derek barely heard the rest. His eyes were locked on Marcus, weaving through the crowd, heading backstage. Connor Wade stood by the restricted door, pretending to check badges. But Derek saw the flick of the lock. It was already open. Evan, Sean, with me, Derek whispered. They're moving backstage. The 3 men slipped away through the service corridor, avoiding the guests' gaze. Behind the stage, the hallway was dim, lit only by red emergency lights. Marissa's voice carried faintly from the stage. Aurora Protocol will redefine how we protect information. Derek turned a corner and froze. Marcus Vance stood there with 2 armed men, each holding a compact pistol. And Connor Wade stood among them. Mrs. Caldwell will be down in 5 minutes, Connor said. You've got 5 minutes to do it. Enough, Marcus replied coldly. Grant wants her alive. For leverage. No kills. Just the grab. Derek had heard enough. He stepped out of the shadows, his voice low and calm. That plan's over. All 3 spun around. Marcus went for his gun, but Derek was faster. A sharp spin kick sent the weapon clattering across the floor. Evan and Sean rushed in, tackling the other 2. Connor stood frozen, face pale. Derek, you think I didn't know? Derek advanced, voice like steel. I've been watching you for 2 weeks. Every call, every payment, every meeting with Marcus Connor backed up, trembling. You don't understand. I needed the money. My wife, my kids. And you sold out the person who trusted you? Derek shook his head slowly. There are things money can't buy, Connor. Honors, one of them, police burst in. Derek had tipped them off hours ago. The metallic snap of handcuffs echoed through the corridor. Connor met Derek's eyes one last time, tears streaking down his face. "I'm sorry. I really am." Derek said nothing. He just watched, seeing perhaps a reflection of who he might have been once. A man cornered between desperation and decency. On stage, Marissa continued her speech, unaware of the storm that had just been diffused behind her. The crowd applauded. The lights gleamed. Only Derek, stepping back into the lobby, finally allowed himself a breath. Then his earpiece crackled. Sean's panicked voice. "Derek! Problem. We got the wrong guy." "What?" "Marcus Vance isn't the main target. He's bait." A chill raced down Derek's spine. He turned sharply toward the stage and saw Grant Ellis, sitting calmly in the front row, dressed in a navy suit, watching. His hand slipped into his jacket pocket. Grant Ellis, the real mastermind. "Marissa, get down!" Derek shouted, sprinting toward the stage. Grant pulled his hand out, not a gun, but a small remote. He looked directly at Derek and pressed the button. A sharp explosion thundered backstage. Not huge, but enough to send the crowd screaming. Smoke billowed across the wings as panic erupted. Derek vaulted onto the stage, eyes scanning for Marissa. She was still standing there, frozen, stunned. "Derek!" she gasped. Then, gunfire. Not from Grant, from a second shooter, hidden behind the stage rigging. No one had seen him. Time slowed. Derek saw the bullet's path, and his blood ran cold. It wasn't aimed at Marissa. It was aimed at Lila, who had slipped into the wings, calling for her mother despite being told to stay home. "Number!" Derek launched himself forward, just like that night at the Mall of America. But this time, there was no miracle. The bullet tore through his left shoulder, deeper, hotter than before. But Lila was safe. He collapsed onto the stage, blood soaking through the black suit. The sounds around him blurred. Only his heartbeat remained, and Lila's frightened face above him. "You're hurt," she cried, voice trembling. "It's okay. You're safe. That's all that matters." Derek forced a faint smile. Marissa rushed forward, dropping to her knees, wrapping her arms around both of them. "Derek! Oh, God, Derek!" Police swarmed in. Grant Ellis and the gunman were subdued within seconds. It was over, all of it, in 30 seconds. But in Marissa's arms, Derek thought only of Noah. Did I keep my promise? "Noah," he whispered, his voice fading. Marissa held him tighter, tears streaming down her face. "Your boy's safe, Derek." "He's safe, and you will be too. Do you hear me? You'll be okay." Outside, ambulance lights strobed red and blue across the cold Minneapolis night. Derek smiled faintly. Inside, peace finally settled in. Because this time, he had kept his promise. He had protected those who couldn't protect themselves. And as always, he had no regrets. Morning sunlight slipped through the hospital window, gentle and warm. Derek slowly opened his eyes. Pain. His entire left shoulder felt licked by fire. But he was alive. And that was enough. "Dad!" Noah's voice. The 9-year-old was perched at the edge of the bed, eyes red from crying. He gripped his father's hand as if letting go would make Derek disappear. "Hey, buddy!" Derek tried to smile, though the pain gnawed at him. "I'm right here. You promised you'd be home on time. You promised you'd never leave me. But you almost—" Noah choked on the words as fresh tears spilled. Derek squeezed his son's hand, his heart splitting at the fear in the boy's eyes. He had broken his promise and left Noah living in the shadow again. "I'm sorry," Derek whispered, tears welling. "I didn't keep my word." Noah wrapped his arms around him, pressing his face against the uninjured shoulder. The boy trembled. "I don't want you to be a hero anymore. I just want my dad. I know." "I know, son." Behind them, Lisa stood by the door, quietly wiping her eyes. Beside her was Marissa, holding Lila. Both stayed silent, giving father and son their space. 2 days later, Derek was discharged. His shoulder still hurt, but the doctors said he was lucky. The bullet hadn't hit bone or nerves. Physical therapy would bring him back fully. But Noah's wound ran deeper. During the first week at home, Noah never left his father's side. He spread a blanket and slept on the sofa next to the bed, waking every so often each night to check if his dad was still breathing. Every single night. Derek knew his son was haunted. One night, Derek said softly, "Buddy, I need you to listen to me." Noah looked up, eyes swollen. "I know I scared you. I'm sorry. But you know, there are things in life more important than safety, like doing what's right." "But you almost died," Noah stammered. "Yeah, but because of that, Lila is alive. Marissa is alive. And what would you think if I'd stood there and done nothing?" Noah was quiet for a long time. Then he whispered, I would be sad. "Because you didn't help exactly." Derek pulled him close. "I don't want you to grow up with a coward for a dad. I want you to be proud of me, even if the right thing sometimes comes with risk." Noah burst into tears again, but this time they were different. Less fear, more understanding. At 9 years old, he learned the hardest lesson. Love sometimes means accepting that the person you love will do dangerous things, because it's right. "I'm proud of you," Noah said, hugging him tight. "So proud." That weekend, Marissa visited with Lila. The girl brought a hand-drawn card, Derek and Lila smiling. "This is for you," Lila mumbled. "Thank you for saving me." Twice Derek took the card, warmth spreading in his chest. "I love it." "Thank you," Lila smiled, then turned to Noah. "Noah, want to go to the park? Mom says there are swings nearby." Noah glanced at his dad for permission. Derek nodded. The two kids dashed outside. Their clear laughter drifted back into the room, softening every ache. Marissa sat beside Derek, silent for a moment, then said, "Grant Ellis has been arrested. Connor Wade is cooperating to reduce his sentence. It's over." "Good," Marissa hesitated. "And Derek, I want you to know, you don't have to come back to work if you don't want to. I understand. Noah needs you, and you need time." Derek looked at her. "Are you firing me?" "No," Marissa blurted. "Not at all. I just don't want to force you into something that will hurt your son." Derek looked out the window. Noah and Lila were soaring on the swings, laughter ringing bright. Two children from different worlds, now best friends. "I'll come back," Derek said, "but not as a security consultant." Marissa blinked. "Then, as what?" "Chief Security Officer. The whole system. I want to rebuild it from the ground up, not just to protect you, but everyone in the company. And I need full authority." Marissa's smile, then, was the most genuine he had ever seen. "Agreed." No conditions. 3 months later. Derek stood in his new office on the 26th floor, the window overlooking the quiet flow of the Mississippi. On his desk sat a photo of Noah beaming. Beside it, the wooden box, no longer locked. He had opened it, accepted the past instead of running from it, learned to live with it. The door opened. Marissa stepped in. "Ready for the meeting?" "The board is waiting." "Ready." They walked side by side down the hallway. Now, employees no longer stared at Derek with suspicion. They nodded, smiled with respect. He was the man who had saved their CEO, the one standing between danger and the entire company. Just outside the boardroom, Marissa paused. "I'm cooking tonight." "You and Noah coming over?" Derek smiled. "We'll be there." That evening, the four of them sat around the table. Derek, Noah, Marissa, Lila. No lavish party, just pizza and salad. But the laughter filled the kitchen. Noah and Lila debated fiercely about which dinosaur was the strongest. Derek and Marissa exchanged a quiet smile. Two people who once thought they'd be alone forever, suddenly recognizing that something new was taking shape. Not love. Not yet. But the beginning of it. A thread tying together people who knew loss, who understood the weight of parenthood, who believed in protecting what mattered most. "Dad," Noah asked, mouth still smudged with cheese, "are you happy?" Derek looked at his son, then at Lila, then at Marissa, and realized, yes. For the first time in 3 years, he wasn't just surviving. He was truly living. "Yes, kiddo," Derek said, resting a hand on Noah's hair. "I'm very happy." Marissa's fingers lightly touched his on the table, a small gesture, heavy with meaning. Derek didn't pull away. That night, after bringing Noah home and tucking him in, Derek stood on the balcony. Minneapolis sparkled under the night sky. He pulled a cigarette from habit, then, for the first time, found he didn't need it. He snapped it in half and tossed it in the trash. No more running. No more hiding. Derek Hanley, former Marine sniper protector, had found himself again. And this time, he wasn't alone. His phone buzzed. A text from Marissa. "Thank you for a lovely evening. Lila won't stop talking about Noah. Same time next week?" Derek smiled and typed back, "Absolutely. See you next week." He looked up at the sky. Winter stars glittering over Minneapolis. And for the first time in a long while, he felt faith. In the future, in love, in the possibility that an ordinary man could still step into the light. "Sarah," he whispered into the night. "You were right. Life goes on. And you know what? I think you'd like Marissa. The way she looks at me. Not like a hero, but like a person." The night wind stirred the curtain, like a blessing from the past. Derek shut the door. Inside, Noah slept peacefully. A new life was waiting. And Derek Hanley, once a nameless man, was ready to walk into the light. Without fear, without running. Just a man, a father, a protector. And maybe, soon, someone who loves. Sometimes, heroes don't wear shining armor. They're just ordinary people doing the right thing, even when it costs them. And sometimes, the most beautiful new beginnings happen when we dare to step out of the shadows. If this story moved you, and you want to follow more journeys of stepping out of the shadows, don't forget to like the video so I know you want more. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. Comment which moment hit you the hardest. Derek's promise to Noah, or his decision to stand in the way a second time? Thank you for watching to the end. See you in the next episode.